Sadam, hello. Good morning.
Salam.
Sadam, who's here?
Kehar.
Hi, Kehar. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. Thank you. Is it warm there?
Is anyone else here?
There were supposedly 3 people on the line when I got on, so I expect that there are a couple more there.
Guru Atma.
Oh, hi, Guru Atma. How are you?
Good morning.
Welcome. Anybody? Who else is here?
Masan Rahmane.
Oh, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Good. And who else? Seems like this morning is a slow morning. Good morning. Who's here? Here we come. Who's here? Angels in the ethers. Good morning.
Good morning.
Who's here?
Harimander.
Hi, Harimander. Welcome. Is it warm in Alaska?
Yes.
Oh.
No, actually, it snowed last night.
Oh.
But it's spring snow. That's nice.
Oh. Okay, I got it. And who else is here?
I think Hari Das said she was here.
Oh, Hari Das. Thank you. Hari Das, how are you today?
I'm well, thanks.
Oh, good. How about Minnesota? Are you still having snow as well?
Oh, no. We have had several days in the 60s.
Wow.
Most of the snow cover has melted, and we actually went for a bike ride on dry pavement last night.
Oh, my gosh. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it's startling.
I guess we have to have the really cold and wet and snowy in order to appreciate the spring. I guess that's life.
Yep.
Okay. Who else is here?
Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
Very good today.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And who else?
Harinder.
Hi, Harinder. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, good. And who else? Who else is here? Okay.
Carol is here.
Oh, Carol. Hi, Carol. And you're enjoying the spring snow as well, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. And who else is here? Even if it's your first time, just introduce yourself. That'll be fun. Who's here? Okay. Well, how about if we go ahead and get started? Okay. So please sit straight. Long, deep breath. Pavan. Long, deep breath. Include your physical breath with the oxygen exchange, as well as extraordinary prana, bits of life, vitality from the source. Long, deep breath. Eyes at the third eye point. Go deeply within. Go deeply within. What an extraordinary structure we humans are. That you can go deeply within and feel, hear the totality within your consciousness. Go within. And inhale. Long deep breath. Long deep breath, which is breathing from your belly through your nose. And now begin heart breath. That is with long deep breathing. On the exhale, feel as though the air is coming out of your heart center. Good, really open that heart. Oh, how beautiful it is. It's like spring in your heart. Good. And now continue heart breath and joining with everybody who is either listening to this class on the recording or who is here. This joining is very important. Open and free. Good. Keep up your heart breath. Keep up your heart breath while I ask Karimender how Lucinda is doing. Karimender?
I haven't talked to her in the last couple of weeks. She's still waiting to hear on her appeal, and that could take months.
Okay. Well, let's send our heart breath to Lucinda in her whole situation. As you all know, she was wrongly accused, and she has been in the pokey for a while. So please send your heart breath, your breath of compassion to Lucinda.
Siri Gian, it's hard to hear you. If you can speak louder or something.
Yes.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, I will speak loud. Okay, so keep up your heart breath and your intention for Lucinda. She was wrongly accused and has been incarcerated for a while. Send her heart breath. Good. And keep her in your prayers, please.
One of the amazing things about Lucinda is that she went from being extremely angry and upset, of course, and all those things, and she's now tutoring some of the women in the jail, and wrote that she has come to terms with what's happened to her and has compassion, and it's an amazing turnaround for her.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Well, God bless. And may we all take the example of turning coal into diamonds. God bless. Taking every opportunity, no matter how dark it appears, to turn it around to become the diamond. Good. Now inhale and exhale. Good. Okay. So now, before we get started, I would like to ask people, if they can, to please make a point of coming to join us on the hour, because what we are actually doing is, you might say, we're opening an energy vortex. So we would like everybody with us who intends to be on the call to be in that opening. It's not just a little ceremony. It is a real opening of the energy. And we want you all with us. Okay, Baba G, who says yes. Sir, what would you like to tell us today? He says he wants to tell us that we are all fine students. He says, in fact, you were all masters, you just forgot it. He says, but we can live with that. He says, but today he would like us, please, to focus on our master consciousness. So begin long, deep breath, heart breath. He says, now, people are not usually told that they're masters because they get into all kinds of ego trips. He says, so we are approaching this from the greatest humility. You just heard about Lucinda, okay? In her fear and her upset, she was a student, and she relaxed into the humility of being a master. If you move into the master mind from your ego, from saying, okay, finally I am something, I have been just a little turd all my life, and now I'm finally something and I'm being looked up to, he says you become a master turd. He says, so please drop that. He says the only way that you can truly approach what he calls the masterhood of your being. Let me ask him, sir, what do you mean by the masterhood of your being? He says to approach true consciousness. He says masterhood of your being means that you are coming from what we would call our source, our center. It means that we are operating from a place that is not controlled by our head. It is not controlled by our neuroses. He was saying Ramses. Sir, why were you saying Ramses? He says, in other words, you are not controlled by any perceptions of God or the God force or anything. There can be no preconception when you move into this condition. No preconceptions when you move into this condition. He says when you live from the source, you live from the absolute creative. And to live from the absolute creative means that you take down every barrier, including preconceptions, including gospels, including thou shalt, including cultural dictums. He says, you know that Buddha said, if you meet me by the side of the road, kill me. In other words, do not focus on limited anything. limited images. He says those images are meant to be the tracks to carry you to that place of infinite masterhood. He says, but do not get stuck at the tracks. He says, be totally grateful for all the direction, all those masters who do carry you through, who give you direction, and so on. He says, but where they are trying to carry you, if they are true masters, is not to them, not to the adoration of them, but to the pure enlightenment, to the pure opening of your soul. He says, to the clear rectitude of your being. And to do that, the final veil is total, absolute humility. Let me say that again. The final veil that you move through is total, absolute humility. He says you may find that veil from your preconception to be one of villainy. You may find yourself pummeled. You may find yourself mashed, squashed, beaten up. He says, do not vilify that villainous veil. Okay? Do not vilify it. He said, instead, look at it very squarely in the face, understanding that as you move through it in absolute humility, bowing to it in a way that as you bow to it, you allow the source, the energy of the source, the purity of the pure creativity to flow through from the other side of the veil, and you humbly receive it. He says, then you understand the gift. You understand the gift, just as Lucinda has understood the gift. Do you see? Masterhood is not when you sit on the throne and you expound. Sometimes as a master is one who permeates the truth and is able to expound it, bring it forth, and so on. He says sometimes people will ask you to be on that throne. He says that is another step on the path. He says, but if that happens, be very careful, because it can be a trap. It can be a trap if you relate to that. If you relate to that, it's more than an ability. If you relate to that presence in a way that is not humble, if you take it to your ego, if you take it to your everyday self, it's a proof of, oh my goodness, I have done my work and look at where I am. He says as soon as you do that, you have marred the whole business. You have pulled the veil down again. Absolute humility. If you are not fully in humility, he says you will put yourself in a situation in which you are rendered head to foot. He says you will be chopped again in little pieces. You will bring down the veil again, and you will live as a haunting ghost. So be very aware that humility is the only path to what you would call sainthood, to what you would call the expression of the infinite, and to pure union. Now, when we say humility, we are talking humility to the source, to your true presence. We are not talking about humility to every daft person who comes your way. No. You live totally in your presence. In that situation, you are totally humble to your presence, that God flow that comes through you. Doesn't matter if this is a king president, your boss, doesn't matter. You may remain humble. Doesn't matter if it's a person that has been convicted of a crime, who has addictions, who has done what we would perceive as terrible things. Absolute humility to your God source when relating to that person. Remember, I said, I am relating to your Masterhood now. He says, and that means that you carry this on. You remain in your humility, even to the Master Source of all these other people, even though they have so many veils in front of it. That doesn't mean that you adore them, you worship them, you worship the God within them. You relate, you vibrate to, you've set up a sympathetic vibration with their God source, simply with your humility to your God source, by your compassion, not the compassion of your brain so much, but by surrendering to your heart, surrendering to the simplicity of your heart. That is how you move into this incredible space. That is how you move into this openness, this generous being of your own masterhood. The only way to reach that full expansive being is laying yourself bare. So every difficulty, every challenge that comes your way, you say, thank you, God. Another way for me to be humble and move through that veil, to turn the looking glass around, to see what's on the other side. Am I being a good person? Am I being a bad person? He says, no. There's no question like that. He says, the question is, how are you looking at a situation? Do you, for instance, if you find that somebody dismisses you, that they put you down, and you immediately feel your own resources, your own neuroses coming into play, like, well, who do they think they are? Or, oh my God, I'm being abandoned yet again. He says, whoa. He says, stop yourself right there. Realize that what's happening is that your neuroses was sparked by theirs. He says, so please don't stay there. He says, ask for the help of the true master, of the Godhead, of your soul, of the wisdom that flows through you, and ask to see a clear picture of what is really going on. And what is really going on is usually the fact that the other person is so scared witless that they are enacting their neuroses, which is picked up by yours. He says, reverse the process. When their neurosis kicks in, realize what's going on, change your vibration, change your outlook, change your humility, and move into that presence, that vibratory rate of your humility, so that your vibration, and somehow, may gently, may openly connect with theirs. He says that is what it means to heal the world. He says, now most of you, if not all of you on this line, know deeply within your bones that in this incarnation, you came here to save the world. He says that's not a joke. That is a reality. That is your calling. He says, please affirm that now. Do a heart breath to that. You came here to this earth, in this incarnation, to save the world. Breathe with that. Realize it. Good. And he says, the way you save the world is first by being humble to this God source of yours. Turning around your own difficulties, hurts, and upsets to find the blessing, to find the true self-knowledge. You turn them. It's on a turnstile even. You turn them to find the other side of what is going on truly. You find the reality and the truth, and you vibrate. You vibrate. You understand what I'm saying when I say vibrate. It means that your mind is clear, your heart is open, and your body is not reticent. But you are free and clear. You all know the space of free and clear. Check yourselves to be sure that you are in the space of free and clear. When you are in that space, he says, and always ask for help. Always ask for help. The help is always available. Ask for help of what does it look like if I turn this, if I turn my neurosis, if I turn my difficulty, my hurt, my fear. What does it look like if I turn it? And then ask for the grace to actually turn it. And then when you are in that open and clear, this is when the light, what you call the light, can shine through. It has a vibratory rate. You know that your visual light has a vibratory rate. He says, so allow this infinite vibratory rate to move through you so that it can resound and call into resonance that of others who are suffering in their own neurosis. Please look at neurosis not as bad. Do not judge it. Look at it with compassion. Oh, my God. What difficulty they must be in. What heartbreak. What fear. Oh, my goodness. What traumas have they been through in order to be living from this condition? He says, that is the humility and that is the compassion. Do you understand? You are here to save the world. Please understand that fully in your own mind, in your own heart, in your own body, your whole being. And you do it from this relaxed sensibility, not this frantic, oh, let me go and save the children in Africa, let me raise the money, He says, you may be doing that. That is fine. That is wonderful. He says, but you do not have, but start with your own might as it is now. Remember, it is in yourself, in your own being. As it is raised, it is opened through the door of humility. That is the constant rate, the candle in the wilderness, as you might say, that is the actual processor, actual cognizant processor of saving the world. He says, this is pure healing. He says, just because you can't see it, because it's not a great big machine, because it does not collect a lot of money, because it does not break your leg if you don't do it, he says, don't believe that it is not powerful. He says, it is the pure power of the universe. The pure power of the universe. Now imagine if you had the pure power of the universe, but you were still wielding it with your neuroses. Oh my God, can you imagine the destruction that could happen? He says there are people who have figured out how to do that. You might call them black magicians and so on. He says, you know you don't want that. No way. He says what you want is the pure light, to live in the pure light and to live from that source of infinite intelligence, infinite compassion. To do that, it takes absolute humility and moving through the dark veil so that you can turn it around, so that you can turn around our misperceptions of what pain is, and what recovering from that pain or that hurt or that shallowness, when you turn that around, how you perceive and are open to the reality of a situation, which more often than not has to do with the other person's pain and fear. So again, he's repeating it again. Remember, you have the opportunity of joining with their infinite masterhood or joining with their neuroses, their darkness. It's your choice. It is your choice. And he wants to be very clear about this. It is your choice. He says, I know when you're in the heat of the moment, it can be kind of hard. He says that's the reason why you have mantras, why you have prayer, and why you have us to call upon. We're here. Never doubt us. Use us in the moment. That is the way you give yourself an opening. That is the way you open. What he's showing me now is a picture of a story in the Bible of there were three brothers. They were in the, I think they were being tortured, but anyway, they were in the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Does anybody remember that story? And they heard the word of God. He says, that's it. You simply listen to your source. You be in your source for the pure information, the simplicity of explanation in the moment. And that is what carries you through. That is it. You are all healers. You are all masters. You are all masterminds. As you surrender in humility, in compassion, to the master that is in the moment, in the now, that is sourced in the now, that is your presence as you allow it. This is who you are. Do not abandon it for a moment. And enjoy the fun of moving towards that at every moment. If sometimes you forget, do not blame yourself. Do not judge yourself. You will just throw yourself down the basement steps again, and you do not need that. Include yourself in your own self-compassion. Include yourself in your own self-blessing. Bless yourself every day, every evening, every moment. Bless yourself in pure humility that you are living the consciousness, that you are living the source, that you are living the kindness and the fullness of the masterhood. He says you are that already. He says in your spiritual jargon you use the word realize or self-realization. He says that is utter truth. He says simply realize it. Simply realize it. And humility and compassion are the gateways to that realization. Now breathe, please. Good. And now please see a situation in which you recognize you get set off. Somebody says something to you, something happens, you get set off. Why are they doing that? I don't like that. I'm afraid. I'm abandoned. Who do you think you are? Feel that situation? Understand that is the veil. And now move into utter humility. Utter humility. And call on your soul, your source. To turn the situation around, give you the wisdom. Give you the wisdom of what's really happening there. Opening. Getting the wisdom. What's really happening? Move into the compassion for the situation, for yourself, for the situation, for the other person or persons. And allow it all to move into the vibratory rate of the light of the source, which is so intimate, so cozy, and yet so expansive. Use your breath. Open. And relax, he says. Relax in it. The true power comes from absolute relaxation. To the extent that you tense or that you stress is the extent to which you close down the portals of light. So open. Good. And now, please keep that awareness. Please be aware and allow that awareness to settle within your consciousness and within your body. Inhale and exhale. And allow yourself to continue heart breath. Bring your awareness, bring your focus to be with us while continuing the pure, absolute focus always as your base. Good. And now, who can share their experience? We always bless your experience because that's how the rest of us learn. We bring it back down to what appears to be our reality, our everyday life, but it is our transforming process. So who can share?
Siri Gian?
Yes. Rahmani?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I had a really strong pullback from the word save the world, because I have ancestors who were missionaries, and it brings up this whole barrage of memories, both in my lifetime of people thinking I was on a trip because I was trying to save the world, and so I kind of breathed into that, and I remembered that the Aramaic word which so often gives me a wonderful way of re-seeing things. The word that was translated to save in Aramaic is chaya, which means to enliven.
Mm-hmm.
It's the basis of the word is life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's simply allowing ourselves and bringing into our world this alignment with life in its purity and in its power and in its omnipresence and in its polycentricity. And so that was very helpful. And then the specific that I worked with was right now our youngest child just has almost no contact with us, and when she does, it's from an extremely superficial kind of perfunctory phone call. And that's been very difficult for me. And so when I went into it in our process, I could see that I did the exact same thing to my mother, and because that was the only way that I could find my own link, was to separate from her power.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to ask my mother's forgiveness and saw that she did the same thing to her mother, and her mother did the same thing to her mother, and now our daughter's doing the same thing to me. And I saw it as a sign of my daughter's power, that she has a lot of power to step into.
Mm-hmm.
And so she needs to really pull back from my power so she can find her pure expression of her power. So it was very
wonderful.
freeing. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wonderful. So you really went in and you turned it around to see the truth of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that amazing how that works?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yes. Yes,
well,
thank you.
I love your description of save. That is just right on.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, dear.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Now, who else can share? Oh, we know you're there. Who else can share? That would help us understand this situation so much more. Hadi Das, do you have anything to share?
Sure.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this week I've experienced sadness from my inability, my perception that I'm not saving the world fast enough.
Mm.
That I'm not, engaged enough or doing enough. And so it was very affirming to hear that it's not necessarily the grandness of our interactions, but the humility and the compassion that we approach each interaction.
Right. And are you having that?
Pardon?
I said, are you having that?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
So you are affirmed in your own path.
Yes.
I am so happy to hear that, dear. I'm so happy. And he says, please understand the range of what you were doing. He says, from your viewpoint, from your vantage point, you can't see that because you can't see the feedback. He said, but rest assured that what you were doing in your contact with yourself and with others, with your family, he says it is extremely far-reaching. He says not only, at this moment, but through generations, both backward and forward. Do you understand? Both backward and forward. In other words, through time and through space, it is having a profound influence. Do you understand?
I do. Thank you.
He says you are very blessed, very kind, and very dear. And you're doing your work. He says, thank you very much. Now, is there anybody else who would like to share? Or who can share, I will say. Who will be brave enough to share?
I can share.
Oh, good. Is this Kahar?
Yeah.
Good.
So I want to start by saying the first half of the call, when you're talking about humility, and I just kept thinking about Guru Nanak and how each shabad, each part of the Guru, the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib, which the different gurus wrote, they ended it with "O Nanak," and it's always this line of like humility. It's like always like coming back to, let Nanak be the dust, the feet saints and serve, and it's always coming back to that humility, and it doesn't matter which guru it was, but coming back to the source in the lineage of Guru Nanak, and who then went to his source. And then when we go for exercise, I thought about when I teach Kundalini Yoga, and there's a look from a student, or where they're just not in it. Either like they look bored, or they look angry, or they're like upset, like some negative emotion, and there's an energy in me that without even thinking about it, it goes whoosh, and it comes together, like trying to protect me, and I get nervous, and I might not act on it, but it's there, that like primal, like trying to protect myself. And when we did it, I saw it for what it was, the humility that these teachings will stir up things in people, and it's not about me. And either they're working through things, or they're on their own path, and that for me to just expand immediately. So knowing that consciously, so immediately as that happens, to just consciously move into the space of expansion and just hold the space. And then afterwards, meditating on even more, going back to the humility with Guru Nanak and the lineage, I realized that part of my, I guess, neuroses with the whole, with teaching and being in that space, is fully trusting in the flow. And I talked with someone about this R&D last week, and until I can really work on giving over and trusting that lineage, that the Om Namo Gurudev, the lineage, and not have me be there, then that will even out, and so I can really be in the flow. And I know when I am, and I know when I'm not, which is probably why it's so frustrating, because I've been in both. So so that's what I learned, and that was really helpful.
Oh, how delightful, dear. That was a good story. I think we can all relate to that. Whether we're teaching in a class or we are with other people, I think we can all relate. Yeah. And I especially like that you said you go back to holding the space. Holding the space is what he's talking about when he's talking about the vibratory rate. Holding the space. And always continuing to enter it, always continuing to be in it by the humility.
Yeah.
How delightful. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, who else can share?
Yeah, Siri Gian, this is Sanj here. I'll share.
Oh, hi, dear. How are you?
Not bad. How are you?
Good.
Good. Okay, so the experience, basically, there was the part when you was saying save the world. There was a part of me that did come out, and I had my eyes closed or whatever, and there was a little no that came out. And the way I overcame that, basically, is I took out like a white sword, which was a sword of light, and I just kind of like, chopped up that no, and out of that no, it kind of flew into a white light, and a huge yes came. So, that was the experience I had from that, just that there was a little no that tried to come out from in the back of my head somewhere, but it ended up after I slayed the dragon or whatever you want to call it, and I got the answer of a big yes. So that was just something I wanted to go ahead and share with you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful! And now you know how to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, good. It's not going out and fighting with people and saying this is the way.
No.
Sometimes you have to do that, but only if it's not led by ego,
right,
or anger or current perceptions, but only if it's led by the source, and the source leads you to do that. But it's basically an interior situation going on that finds its expression outward. Good. Thank you so much, dear.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay. So thank you all for your presence. Thank you all for your kindness and your humility and your being in the presence. So just now, go into your humility. Do your long, deep breathing, your heart breath. Be who you are in that masterhood state. Long, deep breath. And when we sing the song, again, this is very important to be with the closing of the vortex also. It's a kind of a union of this extraordinary energy. As we sing the song, sing it to yourself and to all the other masters who are here in our circle. Okay. Kehar, would you lead us?
Inhale. May the Lord shine upon you. All around you. And all light within you. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on.
Inhale. And bow to your infinity, bow to the masterhood and all of your humility, all of your compassion. Breathe with it. And Sat Nam, have a wonderful week, and we will talk again next week. Bless you all. Sat Nam.
Sat Nam.